Last break, guys. All right, Lakers were officially eliminated from playoff contention last night. Now, according to a report, LA is expected to part ways with Frank Vogel after the season. Same report mentioning Doc Rivers and Quinn Snyder as top options to replace him. Wilds, what's your reaction to that report?
My reaction was a very strong, Doc Rivers and Quinn Snyder. Hold on. Teams that are getting ready for the playoffs, all of a sudden a rumor pops out of nowhere they might be the coach of the Lakers. And Frank Vogel, a little Goodwill Hunting style. It's not your fault, but you know what? You still got to go. Broussard, one time I went on a bad run and I was just slow and my sides were aching. And I came home and I said, you know what? Not your fault, but these shoes, threw them right in the garbage. It wasn't their fault, but someone has to be blamed. At that point, it was my sneakers' fault. Quinn Snyder and Doc Rivers, not the answer, though. Quinn Snyder, I wanted to get rid of him after Ty Lue outcoached him and they lost to a Kawhi-less Clippers team. But I do not think Doc Rivers or Quinn are the answer. The only reason I want Quinn is if it's so much of a tumult in Utah that Donovan's like, well, if Quinn's gone, I'm headed to New York. But otherwise, I don't think Doc or Quinn are the answers for the Lakers. And it wasn't Vogel's fault.
Yeah, that was the big part of this report. I mean, we all know Frank Vogel's gone. His fault or not, he's gone. We get that. But Doc Rivers and Quinn Snyder, if they're available, particularly Doc, it means he failed again, right? If they win, I mean, they're a championship team in Philly, right? That's what supposedly, or at least an Eastern Conference championship team. And if Doc is available, that means they either lost in the first round, second round. They underachieved. It will be the second straight time Doc's underachieved, not year, but time. Clippers, Sixers, he'd likely be fired for the second straight time. What's that press conference looking like with the Lakers? Bringing in Doc, not to mention the 3-1 leads in the playoffs. I mean, come on. It just doesn't make any sense, Doc or Quinn. They mentioned Steve Clifford. They mentioned Mike Brown in the report. And, Nick, you'll like this when they mentioned Kurt Rambis, all right? Of all those names, including Doc and Quinn, I liked Mike Brown. I actually could live with Mike Brown. He's been successful, good coach, and he sat under Steve Kerr for 6 years. I think Mike Brown's not a bad hire. The rest of them, not. I'm not doing it.
And by the way, let me throw another name out there. I know you took the Seton Hall job. I like Shaheen Holloway. I like Broussard. I like Jenna Wolfe. All of them over Kurt Rambis. I saw the Kurt Rambis thing, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And the reason they wrote in the article, Rambis might not be the choice, is because he's so valued in the front office. And I said, you've got to be kidding. At that point, I'd give Vogel an extension. If it's like walk through one of these two doors, give Vogel a 10-year deal, or Kurt Rambis, then I guess Vogel gets to stay. I don't know where Doc and Quinn's name came from. If they were like, all right, guys, here's what we're looking for. We're looking for coaches who over the last 2 years have blown the most 15-point leads. It's like, well, Doc Rivers and Quinn Snyder. It's like, okay, well, now there's two. All right, they also in the last 2 years need to have blown a 3-1 lead in the playoffs. It's like, oh, amazingly, it's the same two guys. Like, well, then how are we supposed to choose? So I don't get this report either. However, I must, before we move on quickly, Wilds, can you please concede that it's at least a little bit Frank Vogel's fault? That if you're the head coach of the most underachieving team in arguably NBA history, some of it falls on you, and that maybe those of us that wanted to shake the snow globe a bit 2 months ago, and you chastised us, scolded us, but like, no, Frank Vogel is a championship head coach. That maybe Vogel has to wear some of this, Wilds?
Well, I don't know. I spend every morning, not by choice, Broussard, listening to someone tell me that there's only been one coach who has won a championship since Frank Vogel. It's only been because of the COVID calendar that got shifted. It's only been
not 6 weeks. Not because of the COVID calendar.
6 weeks in the calendar since the Lakers won a championship. And it's like, dust for the day.
On the
Let's get to Tiger.
Really? You sure?
Yeah, on the brink.
I feel like we might have more. feel like we might have more.
Damn.
In fact, that's where we're going to start this morning. End of the rocky road for the Los Angeles Lakers. Sit in it for just a little bit, Nick. In Phoenix last night, taking on the league-leading Phoenix Suns, a game they needed to win to have any shot of staying alive for the play-in. No LeBron in this one, still nursing that ankle. But, guys, let's be honest. It was going to be tough to beat this Phoenix team, even with LeBron in the lineup. He wasn't in the lineup. The Lakers didn't win. The Suns did. And coupled with the Spurs win over the Nuggets, it became official. No playoffs this year for the Lakers. No more puncher's chance, Broussard. Showtime is over. After the game, Anthony Davis on how we got here.
When we put this team together, we had championship aspirations, and once again, injuries got in the way of that. But I think you would love to see. I think the world would love to see. We would love to see what this team could be if we were healthy for the full 82. Now that repeats next year, we had the same team. Who knows? Like I said, we got to recap this season, what worked, what didn't work, and go from there. You know, but I truly think that we could have done something special. You know, Brian and myself, you know, mainly me, were healthy for the entire season.
My goodness. I mean,
He's
at some
nothing
point.
if not self-aware. Yep. Nick, well, let me start with you. What was your reaction to the Lakers missing the playoffs this season?
Well, big picture, it is just an absolute, unacceptable, unforgivable screw-up of a year. And it's, according to StatMuse, it's historically unprecedented. We started doing Vegas finals odds in 1985. Since then, the top two teams preseason odds-wise, every single year, have at least made the playoffs. Until this year with the Lakers, who were the second best odds to make the finals or to win the title, and they're going to miss the playoffs. The best odds are the Nets, and they might end up missing the playoffs as well, but at least they're going to be into the play-in. The whole thing is a total disaster, and everyone involved has to wear it to varying degrees. But I want to talk about Anthony Davis, and I want to go, Brew, very little picture, because I think it helps explain the bigger picture. Because I turned on last night's game, and I said, especially because you were seeing, oh, man, Denver's going to lose to a DeJounte Murray-less Spurs team. The Lakers have to win. And I foolishly had this little bit of hope that, maybe Anthony Davis can just throw the team on his back and put up a 40, 18, 6, and 4, keep the team alive, and then see if LeBron can come back for the final three. And I realized very quickly, Brew, that player doesn't exist anymore. I don't know if how about, I want to show you guys something. Here are the list of players in the NBA this year who have scored more than 35 points in a game 10 times. You look at it and you say, oh, that's, there are some, misses there, but for the most part, it's about 11 of your 12 or 13 best players. That's guys with 10 games, monster scoring games. Anthony Davis has 0. He has 0. And he didn't used to be this player. His last year in New Orleans, he went for 35 plus 10 times. The year before, the year that they were really good and won a playoff series, he went for more than 35 17 times. His first year with the Lakers, he did it 9 times. I know he's only played 40 games. He did it 0 times. All year long. And if scoring's not your favorite thing, you want to go by game score, Basketball Reference's kind of catch-all metric for a great game. A really good game is a game score of 30. A great game is a game score of 35. Brew, 3 times all year, he had a game score of 30. Embiid's done it close to 30. Like, it was 0 times all year, he had a game score of over 35. I don't know what's happened, but I do know this. It's not just injuries. It's not like, well, when Anthony Davis was out there, they were awesome. He played 40 games.
That's right.
And last night was another one. It's like, okay, he was fine. So that's kind of the small picture. That's a bigger picture for the Lakers. What's happened to Anthony Davis?
No, that's well said, Nick, because I would imagine you felt the same way. Once they won that championship in the bubble, I thought AD was going to go to another level. because that's happened with players before. You get the monkey off your back. Now I don't have the pressure of winning the championship. I've done that. And you ascend. And that was the plan, right? He would ascend. LeBron would become the second guy, and they'd still be able to compete for titles. But he has gone the other way. And what it tells me is that he was content. He was fine with winning that championship, being a top 75 player, being a future Hall of Famer, the monkey's off his back, and he's complacent. All right, so that's true. You have said, and others have said and written, this was the worst season in Lakers history. And that is true. This is an incredibly successful franchise. And I don't mean just since Showtime. You know, those that people might be watching Winning Time on HBO Max and all that with Jerry West. Jerry West got them to the finals like every year. Okay, I know he only won one. He lost his first 7.
Went to 9.
But that's a great franchise. Yes, you're going to the finals every year. So this is the worst season in franchise history. But my first 2 thoughts that came to mind, Wilds, when they missed the playoffs or the play-in. At this point, obviously, not shocking. Anthony Davis has a point to some degree about the health, because would they win a championship if healthy?